Football Ferns, last 3 World Cups, 2011. We finished last in the group, didn't win a match. We did draw 1, lost 2. 2015, we finished last in the group, didn't win a match. That was the one where we had our most experienced side. We were going there. We called ourselves amongst the favourites. I remember at the time it was quite embarrassing. We did draw 2 matches though, but finished last in the group. 2019, I think you'll gather there's a pattern repeating here. We finished last in the group. We didn't win a match. In fact, we lost all 3 matches. So, when it comes to the World Cups, with our women, a mountain to climb. Miles Davis, 119. The Football Women's World Cup kicks off tonight. It's been called the biggest sporting event that's ever going to be held in this country. There's been all kinds of chat about the lack of ticket sales and all of that, and I believe a hell of a lot of overhype about our particular team. But the expert who is going to be with us right throughout the tournament on a daily basis, my go-to guy for football ever since we first met in 1998. Welcome back, Miles.
Hello, Mr. Devlin. How's it going? I agree, by the way, with probably the biggest sporting event in this country on a global scale. Maybe the Commonwealth Games might sort of be up there matching it. But I did see someone, I think it was Andrew Vorman today, saying tonight's game is the most important game of football in New Zealand's history. Well, I would beg to differ, but anyway.
Yes, well, look, and this is, part of my frustration with the mainstream media and their coverage of this is that I fail to find anyone that actually truly can analyse the teams and the players at this tournament. And it's a reflection of the fact that you've got a lot of newsrooms packed with people who are writing fluff stories, Women's Weekly kind of stories, but no one actually knows that much about the teams and the players. And that's understandable because women's football does fly under the radar. I mean, your Lionesses come down here. 90-something thousand turned up at Wembley to watch that European Championship final. The crowds they get up in Europe are extraordinary, but it's okay to say, I think, as a New Zealand sports broadcaster, hey, I don't actually know that much. I don't, but I want to watch and I'll find out.
I think that'd be the same as most fanatical football fans. Obviously I do research at a tournament like this, but you're always learning, and you can only do so much at a time. It's not like you've got years of exposure to it. Years of television exposure. We watch, most of the European sides and South American sides that we watch regularly. We know a lot of their players from the Premier League, from the La Liga, Bundesliga, so those names become familiar. The women's names, even the New Zealand names, aren't familiar. And even the ones that are, you wonder how many times you've actually seen them play.
Well, it's a good point, mate. And the fact of the matter is when it comes to, if you ranked the best players here at this tournament, we don't come on that list. If you rank the best teams at the tournament, we don't come on that list. And, and you can't even pretend that we do. We've scored 2 goals this year in 8 games. We haven't, that was the first win against Vietnam that we'd had in a calendar year. And let's kick it off with this match tonight against Norway. I don't care what the rankings are. I think we're 12 or 11 behind them, Miles. That doesn't actually matter. I think there's a huge drop-off between the very best teams that are here and those that aren't.
Exactly what my point, mate. Have you been nicking my ideas again?
Again.
Because you look at that, and I looked at it as well at the rankings. There's 12 for the Norwegian, 26 for New Zealand, and those fluctuate up and down. But if you get outside, probably the top 4 or 5 are a rank above, 5, 6 down to 12, 13. But from there, the drop-off is marked. I mean, it's totally different to the men's rankings, where you could expect a close game between any side in the top 30, probably, 2 sides in the top 30. It is a massive drop-off. So I think that's going to be some people might look at that, but we might have a chance. The reality is, if they get a result tonight, even a draw, if they get a draw tonight, that'd be amazing. A phenomenal result. I mean, this is a side that in 5 World Cups has played 15 games, not won a game, and had 3 draws. So, their record's not good. Being hosts, obviously, and I think the crowd, I saw something like over 40,000 that they were expecting maybe a sellout at Eden Park, which would be fantastic. And you expect the home side to get some support. Football's a growing game. Women's football is exploding all over the world. So there's going to be some interest. I doubt if there'll be much interest in lots of the other games. Philippines against Switzerland, for instance, 58. I mean, that's an exaggeration. So they've got to, but only one side has lost. The host nation has lost the opening game of a World Cup. we might be about to see a second side.
Well, good stat that. Norway, raging favourites to beat the Football Ferns tonight. To get out of the group would be a massive achievement, a major achievement. As you say, I mean, those stats speak for themselves, don't they? We've seen, our team, and I do remember a couple of World Cups ago, our most experienced side, they actually went to, I think it was Canada, talking of winning the tournament, and I don't think even scored a goal. So, first and foremost, what do you expect tonight as opposed to what do you want to see tonight?
Well, I don't expect. I expect Norway to have most of the ball. They lost 2-0 to them up in Oslo just recently, but that was a game where the Norwegians would have just been going through the motions. I expect Norway to have the possession. I expect them to put most of the pressure on, and New Zealand's best chance of grabbing a result is either to get some goal on a breakaway, which they're not exactly. A profligate, or not profligate, they're not proficient in scoring goals, or just hold them out. And I think it's going to be a backs-to-the-wall effort. They'll definitely get lifted by the crowd, and that's Olive, by the way. She's excited about the game.
Yep.
But you just don't know what that's going to do. Shut up, you two mongrels. God almighty. All it is a bloody dog down on the road. We look down on the road and there's a little pug, looks like a French bulldog actually, wandering along the back with the two gay owners. You see them wandering around the tower all the time, and the dogs look out the window and go mental. Anyway, they both reckons that Norway are going to win quite comfortably.
Right, okay, we'll see a couple of Chelsea's there walking their pug, that's okay. And also Olive defending, like I hope the Football Ferns do defend tonight. So then it's the Philippines, then it's Switzerland, and we need 4 points to get out of this group. The United States have arrived. They're back-to-back champs. Obviously, everyone's looking at them thinking that they, could very well go and do something that no team has ever done in men's or women's, which is win 3 in a row. I've mentioned England, Germany, even though they lost to Zambia recently, Spain, Fred said the other day, maybe France the other day. I think Sweden, and maybe even the Matildas are an outside bet, especially if you're talking about crowds lifting in that, because of the number of ticket sales there. They'll be playing to a packed house every time they kick a ball.
Yeah, I think the Australians could be the real upset card, and definitely from the two host nations, they are favoured to go one better. They've actually got a bit of a profile over there. I mean, over 80,000 at the Stadium Australia expected for the game tonight against Ireland. I think 10 o'clock, it kicks off. That's a phenomenal crowd, phenomenal interest for a country. I mean, they'd struggle to sell that many tickets to their rugby side,
yep.
Their men's rugby side. So to sell it for women's football is a phenomenal effort. But they, like Kiwis, like winners. They like people. And I think the Australians have beaten, I think they beat France. They beat England at Wembley, or in the UK. I'm not sure if it's at Wembley, but they beat England 2-0 as well. And England, with reigning European champions, had been on a big run. So I think the Australians are definitely, for me, are the favoured outsiders. And I'm not going to say that they're going to win it, but I think they'll get out of their group and they might go pretty close.
Miles Davis is with us. He's going to be with us right throughout the tournament. Football Women's World Cup kicking off tonight. I don't really want to get into these debates. This is the biggest sporting event here or not. I just think it's a lot of media bollocks, mate, to be honest. I mean, the 2011 Rugby World Cup, where the All Blacks are playing at home and winning, I mean, the whole country's overwhelmed and enveloped in that. I'm really proud of New Zealand for buying over 300,000 tickets. And I know that the Sports Minister is chiding all us Kiwis, saying it's not good enough. And Maya Jackman, I heard on the news today, been described as one of our greatest ever players. Again, I yawn and saying we haven't actually picked up, the baton and ran with it with this tournament.
She was in a side that beat the House of Football.
Yes, she did, actually. Good point. No, lost to the House of Football, wasn't it? 2-1?
No, they lost the first one where you lasted 1 minute, got a bit of stick from the crowd and then ran off. And I was the only player who got booked in the whole game.
Yeah, that's
by the referee who used to own the adults sex shops up in Gay Road.
That's right.
You remember that dodgy incident?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the second time we played them at North Harbour Stadium, they beat us 3-1, although they did have Kyra Whiteford playing at the back who made a massive difference for them.
So, whether it is or isn't the biggest, I just think that, any time that we can sell that amount of tickets to anything, it should be celebrated. I mean, in these economic times, you're asking people to fork out, money that they may not have, the cost of living increases and that. So to sell 300,000 plus tickets to women's football, which isn't a huge sport in New Zealand, which isn't a football country anyway, I think it's something to be really proud of. Look, you're not going to get packed houses for every single game. Just be real about it. But that's a huge amount of tickets, isn't it? Or am I reading this wrong?
It is a massive amount of tickets, especially the way that you codified it and said, look, this is New Zealand, which is not a massive football country, although it is definitely growing, especially in youth participation. It's phenomenal. They play, more than rugby, the kids nowadays. Basketball probably is right up there as well. It is bloody good. And in fact, when you talk about those lesser games, Men's World Cup, those games don't sell out unless the host nation happens to be one of the teams in it. They don't sell out either. So that's no real shock or surprise. I don't know why they would make such a deal of it. I suppose, that the Robertson, being involved as a sporting minister over here, would want to see great success so that he can get extra invites from FIFA to go to some of their junkets all over the world, just the way Trevor Mallard used to do.
That's right.
in the good old days. One thing that I want to get your thought on, though, we're talking about money and sort of thing, people got to realise that men's tickets to a Men's World Cup cost about between 5 and 10 times as much to go and do it. It'd be interesting to see how many tickets would be sold if they were going minimum $120 instead of the $20 that they're being sold for at the moment. That's one. But secondly, the thing that really got me going, and you mentioned the Australians, was them bleating on about demanding more prize money because they only get 25% of the men's prize money. Where on earth are they coming from? They're almost treating it like, you're knocking us down. It's a commercial reality.
There you go.
Guys in the third division get paid less than Premier League players because people are paying more money for the tickets, more of them are turning up. You're getting 60,000 a crap team like West Ham, where you get 3,000 at Northampton if you're lucky. They're paying 60 quid at West Ham. They're paying 15 at Northampton. It's just economic
That's
reality.
All it is.
I mean, look at Infantino, the FIFA president, had to almost, threaten and cajole all the TV broadcasters in Europe because none of them wanted to pay much money for the rights. So, in fact, they're probably subsidising the prize money as it is. They've trebled it, I think, since the last World Cup. It's over 110 million US as prize money. Each player, as long as their association goes by FIFA's sort of recommendations, each player at this tournament will go home with a minimum of $30,000
US.
Now, for a month strolling around, if you come from Vietnam or the Philippines, 30 grand's going to be not a bad go, is it? And that's just if you don't even get out of your group.
Devlin.
Yes! Yes! Can they do it?
The Platform.